We have a quorum.
Yeah, we need the phone.
We have a quorum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would you like to wait a few minutes?
Well,
Somebody?
I thought Carol was gonna bring up the paperwork. We gave Carol the paperwork to, I'm gonna have Joe go down. I think first, because this is a little bit of unusual circumstance, just to let people know that may be tuning in, that we had, under the emergency provisions of open meeting law, if you do have an emergency, then you can convene a meeting. A tornado, in my mind, is a pretty clear indicator of an emergency. So as folks probably are aware, we had a tornado that struck the area yesterday. I'll just give, just in case people are have an interest, there were no reports of injuries, which is really phenomenal. Driving around, there's an awful lot of trees that came down. As of today, we had three areas of town, main thoroughfares, that we were in the process of still trying to open up. Lothrop, South Street, south of Sisson, and Route 124 between Queen Anne and Main Street. I don't believe that's still open. We were at, last night, about 10 o'clock, 93% of the community was without power. That now is down to 63%. So we have made some pretty good progress. The reason why we made progress is that we were able to bring in equipment to help move some of the bigger trees and get the tree crews here. Eversource had five crews that were doing emergency management type work in town last night. They got resources from other parts of the New England region, and they have really upsized the amount of crews. My hope is that by later tonight, that percentage will continue to drop, and we'll have more people that will have power. We did notify the insurance company. We are in the process of getting a estimate on all the damage related to the storm, so we will be filing a claim for some of the. None of the main town buildings sustained damage. We have an awful lot of fields that sustained damage to the fence. We did have Kroll Barn, which unfortunately was fairly recently done, had 2 trees on it. So we need to do some kind of a assessment with that. Just for folks to be aware too, the brush fee at the DPW, if you have brush on your private property, you can bring it to DPW. We will not charge people. The selectmen do have a policy for, in case of emergencies, a determination of a local emergency, that they automatically waive that fee for 2 weeks. So the Board of Selectmen did declare a state of emergency probably about a half hour after the storm hit. So we do have that in place. We have been able to keep the library, town hall, and the community center open through this. The cultural center was open, but we used that as a staging ground for outside crews doing tree work in town. So I wouldn't say that there was availability of parking because we had a lot of crews there. What we're here tonight for, we know that there's going to be additional costs. We have ramped up on police, we have ramped up on fire, we have ramped up on DPW. We had 3 loaders from Robert Hour. We had a microburst on Monday night, so DPW crews were out Monday night, and then to have this follow up, we just couldn't have people working for 36 hours plus, so we had to send them home. We did contract with Robert Hour to come in and provide some front-end loaders. So we definitely have costs above and beyond our normal operations. So what I've taken a real, just very preliminary stab at was to request $50,000. We were asked late this afternoon to put some numbers together for what we anticipate the total storm cost is. The town of Yarmouth has identified almost $1 million. We very quickly, we had 1 hour to pull together all this information. We probably will be upwards over 600,000 is the estimate that we had very initially. I think once I get a little bit of sleep and we have a little bit of time to think through things a little bit more, I think our number probably will be closer to the Yarmouth number of $1 million. the significance of those numbers in order to be declared a federal disaster area and thus eligible for federal reimbursement funds. There is a total number for the county, I believe it's $9.5 million of public infrastructure. It's $14 million for public and private infrastructure. So, and even if a building was hit, and then we would only be the insurance deductible portion. So we have tried to come up with that estimate. So what we have for you tonight, and the reason for the emergency, is that we really should not be engaged in operations without some kind of funding source. So the estimate is $50,000, and then I would anticipate as we move forward, some of those costs we can obviously absorb in the budget. So labor costs, DPW, instead of doing beaches or other activities, are doing tree clearing. So some of those costs we don't need to try to recover, at least in terms of town funds, because we need to get people safe and get the power back on. But the request before you this evening is for $50,000, so we can do a transfer and at least pay some of those initial costs that we know we have incurred. We're in day 2. They have told us, at least on the 4 o'clock call this afternoon, they anticipate that electric restoration won't be completed. They say by Friday afternoon. I don't think that's going to be the case. I can see it going into the weekend. An awful lot of individual homes had their meters ripped off. So it's not just getting the streets online, it's individual customers that have had issues as well. So it's a situation out there. It's a significant situation.
We got really excited. At my house this afternoon, we had power for about 25 minutes over on Vacation Lane, and then it turned off.
And it turned off.
Dan, any questions?
In terms of prioritizing what DPW and the subcontractors work on first, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We had a little bit of a discussion today. I've always kind of jokingly say this, that there's a law in Massachusetts for everything. So believe it or not, we can only do storm damage that is within the public right-of-way. So we can only clear the public right-of-way and get the public right-of-way squared away. So if people have storm damage on their property, we cannot go onto their property and clear that. So I did get actually Joe got a legal opinion from me to make sure that, we were on the right page. We are on the right page. The other element, element to your question, sorry, I'm like super tired. Prioritization, thank you. So what we're doing is DPW really through today was to get in and move branches and stuff off the main drags. So I think we're at a point where the main drags are done. There's still a lot of dead-end streets that you cannot get down. So the priority is to try to get, so we have police and fire services can get to people if need be. So that's been priority 1. Priority 2 would be to then do the chipping operation. I don't want to have people at home think that we're just in this by ourselves. The Eversource people have really ramped up. Just to give people a sense, we actually had 8 front-end loaders ready to go. Day 1 to move stuff. We couldn't move virtually anything because Eversource didn't want us getting in with wires on the ground. They could not guarantee to us that the wires weren't live. Right. So we had to wait for crews to come in, tell us what was dead, so then we could clear. But we've had, and I kid you not, convicts, I think 3 units from the Department of Correction came in. We've had forestry come in. So we have a lot of people coming in to tree cut. We have 5 crews of our own doing tree cutting. We have 3 from other towns. I think 2 from other towns and 1 from just a volunteer group that wanted to come in and help us. So the priority now is once we get done with the response element, it will be kind of the restoration element. I would anticipate, the restoration, I mean, I had to come up with something, easily 30 days. And, I would encourage people that, if you could find a contractor and get to the DPW, that emergency criteria has 2 weeks where we don't have to charge people and we can just accept it in. But 2 weeks is not gonna be very much time considering the amount of damage that's out there.
Anything else, Dan?
Was that hopefully responsive to your
Okay.
question?
Thank you.
Angelo?
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. What account do you see as the source for these funds?
I think what Carol had put in, and I agree with this for now, we would put it into a town administration storm management fund, and we probably want to start to segment off. Just two things. I kind of was a little bit gloomy perhaps on the federal FEMA reimbursement. We may not hit that level. I think that the governor was actually, not only was he pretty personable, but I think he was touched by some of the people and what he saw. So there was at least an implied commitment from him and his administration that they would do a supplemental appropriation in the state budget and try to reimburse us for some of those. So I think identifying some of our additional costs above and beyond our typical operation, we probably want to do, so we can let the governor know what those numbers are. And there is a possibility of getting reimbursement through supplemental appropriation. So I think there are multiple avenues, but I think Carol has the right idea of segmenting that off and having it be in a storm fund.
Okay, I understand that. If we get these federal or state funds, then you can return the 50,000, right?
That's exactly what will happen.
And I think that planning has to be done.
Okay, John?
No, you've answered Dan and Angela, and you did a great summary, Chris. And yeah, I think everybody's doing a great job. I mean, we used to deal with snowstorms and stuff, but this is an entirely different. A tornado hasn't touched down in here, in decades. So
I think the one thing that's been kind of challenging here, and believe it or not, we actually opened all of our beaches except for Earl Road. We didn't open Earl Road because you couldn't get there. Too many trees down, too many wires down. But, we recognize people are on vacation.
yeah,
And we don't want people to think that the town's not trying to be sensitive to that. The golf course has 187 trees that have been damaged. And we are very concerned that if people wander off to get a ball and there's they call them widow makers, branches that have given way up top that could fall. So the golf course probably will be closed for a little bit more of an extended period. We're trying to get the power back on because we know people are vacationing here. And tonight, the stroll was canceled, I think appropriately so because of the damage. But there's going to be an economic impact. We're just trying to minimize that to the best of our ability.
no, great job, and no questions. That's it.
Hey, Mark?
No questions?
Tom?
No, I think everybody covered most everything. Again, they're out there, they're doing a really good job. I mean, just any street you pick, Eversource is working with local contractors, whacking trees down and clearing wires and doing their thing, so.
Yeah, one of the things I learned when I was out in Southbridge on the tornado is you have to beg early and beg, quickly. And, I just want to applaud. I had a call from the lieutenant governor, I think probably an hour or two after the storm hit, saying, what did you need? I really believe that the state has really stepped up. Eversource, I mean, just people volunteering. It's just been, organizationally, it's been good for us. But it's been kind of nice. I think a lady at one of the meetings earlier said, these events really bring out neighbor helping neighbor, kind of an element of society that we sometimes lose. So it's been nice from that perspective.
Chris, what should they do with construction debris?
On construction debris, that's a good question. Going around, there's not a tremendous amount of buildings that got damaged. Believe it or not, we actually prepared to have the building officials go around to certify if houses needed to be inspected in order to go back in. And when I was out in Southbridge, we had, I think it was 75 homes that were impacted. So we had to go and do assessments and all them. Right now, we have not received any request. I think one of the things we'll have to consider to the question, probably bring up before the Board of Selectmen, do we want to waive the electrical connections for people that have the services torn off their house? And what do we want to do with construction debris? Because under the policy right now, Brush is actually excluded from that, so we'll have to take a look and see if, what we want to do on the,
So that doesn't include fencing then, is that correct? They cannot bring fencing with the brush?
with the brush, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Angel?
In terms of the brush, if you hire a contractor of some sort
Yes,
to pick up the stuff and bring it, does he have to pay?
that's
or-
an awesome question, and I appreciate you bringing that up. The answer is no, they do not. So everyone gets treated the same for this 2-week cycle. So if they're a contractor that's cleaning up anywhere in Harwich and they're bringing debris, I think that we ended up having people backing up onto Queen Anne Road. We were trying to at least get people over the scales, and we just waived the scales, we just waved people in. So I think you're gonna see that for an extended period as people try to clean up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was driving over here, I noticed that at Brooks Park, the hollow, I think it's known as, had trees every which way, which indicates a tornado. But it's just jam-packed with downed trees.
Yeah, you know,
Takes a lot of work.
that's a very interesting question. In my experience out in the last town, it's kind of interesting that the town had a perspective that we wanted to clean out the trees because we thought it would be a fire hazard. And there were state officials that said that, believe it or not, but when trees fall over, it creates additional habitat for different kinds of animals. I personally think that was a little bit of an excuse because they didn't want to go in and clean up. So there's going to be a balance between what is a fire hazard by having so much brush on the ground and what is habitat for animals. So I think we're going to have to see as we move forward what level of effort we're going to have to do in those circumstances.
My other, I guess it's a question, is that taking 50,000 off this early in the fiscal year is a concern. And I guess my thought was earlier this year when we were doing budgeting planning and so forth, that I think we need to take a look at FinCom's reserve funds because the unusual storms and other things that go on around here, yeah, I think we've outgrown the $160,000, $170,000 bucks that we've had for the last several years.
I think you have 125,000, which is pretty minimal. To that question, I guess I would respond 2 ways. I don't disagree. I think we probably do want to have a little bit of a larger reserve. I think one thing that has changed because the finance laws allow for some flexibility at the end of the year to move money around. Some of that may be a little bit, not as necessary as it's been in the past. There is the potential for a fall special town meeting to address sewer-related projects that we have going. It would certainly be, once we get a little closer to November, December, probably November timeline. The reason why you build reserves, the reason why we're a AAA rated community is because when something happens, you have the ability to address it. And if, God forbid, we don't get federal funds, if we don't get state funds, and the request that we need is more than that, to me, that's an appropriate use of stabilization funds to help us right ourselves. So at least as the administrator, that would be my recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. Well, once we get past this, let's see what damage we have and where we are. If we're not going to get reimbursement, then to seek reimbursement through a stabilization fund request.
One last time, Dan, anything?
Nothing.
Angelo?
No.
John?
I'm fine, thanks.
Tom?
Good.
Mark?
Nope.
Okay, I would appreciate a motion to approve the reserve transfer request of $50,000 from the town administrator. Have a motion in a second, please?
A motion that we,
Motion from Tom,
Second.
second. Discussion? No further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Meeting is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.